Alright, check this out. So I literally just built an AI outbound agent where essentially I told it to look into my product and go out there, find people who are most likely to buy it. And then what the agent did is it went out there and find the people that are within my ideal customer profile. It launched a cold email campaign for me. And the cool part is every time I get a response from a lead who are interested in the product, the agent actually reply for me. And then every single month, the agent give me a report on the campaign statistic. It give me a report on deliverability. So if my cold email infrastructure, so that if my secondary domains or my inboxes are not performing very well, it automatically switch that to a new batch for me so that I constantly have a pipeline going and I constantly have a lead flow coming in. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build this agent powered entirely by one single tool. Every few months, someone drops a video called something like I built an AI cold email system, and it's basically a Zapier workflow. So that's not what we're doing today. What we're building is an AI agent who's also an operator that sets up the entire cold email infrastructures that can buy the inboxes, monitors deliverability, sources the leads, write a copy, launches the campaign, reads every reply, handle all of that, and decides what to do next. That's a full-time job. So today, we're going to replace that with an agent. I'm Wesley, CEO and founder of SciMate. We're a cold outbound agency, but before I started the agency, I was a machine learning and automation engineer. I've built systems for companies like Apple, Cisco, and Twitter. So when it comes to agents and automations, it's not my first rodeo. Here's what we're building today. An AI outbound agent powered entirely by a tool called Smartlead. It's a 5-component autonomous outbound agent that runs the entire outbound motion from end to end. We're going to be using Claude Code as a build environment and Smartlead as the engine behind the scene. And to do that, we're going to split the video into 5 components. First component is the infrastructure. The agent sets up the domain, inboxes, warmup, and monitors its own deliverability health. If an inbox degrades, it spins up a new one automatically. Component 2, data sourcing. We're going to give an agent an ICP. It goes and finds the leads. Component number 3, copywriting. The agent knows how to write copy that can actually convert into sales. Component number 4, campaign build. The agent assembles and launches the campaign inside Smartlead through API. And component number 5, the reply management. The agent reads every single reply and handle all of them. This is a live build, so we're building everything from scratch right now. It's not going to be perfect, and that's kind of the point. You're going to see the actual process of wiring this whole thing together. It's not a polished demo or something that is already pre-built. So let's go right into it. All right, so before we start writing any code, I just want to take about 2 minutes to walk you through all the tools. So of course, Claude is the first tool that we need. I am on the pay plan, so I believe I'm paying about $100 per month. I think it's called a max plan. The second thing that we need is essentially an IDE. So an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So it's a fancy terminologies. So it's basically just a text editor on steroids. So instead of writing code on Notepad or Google Docs, we're going to be using a tool called VS Code. So you can go to code.visualstudio.com and just download the IDE, whether you're using Mac or Windows. I believe they support both different environments for that. So if you don't have it yet, you can go to code.visualstudio.com, just hit the download button, run the installer, and just set it up. Now, once you're inside, you're gonna set up Claude within VS Code as well. You are going to install an extension, I believe, called Claude Code for Visual Studio. There you go. I could just look it up, how to install Claude in Visual Studio, and you should get the answer from the internet. Once you got your Claude account connected to Visual Studio Code, we are all set to go. Now, one more thing that I am going to be using as well, this is called Whisper Flow. So this is recommended if you're using AI on a day-to-day basis, whether you're using Claude Codework, Claude Code. It's just a lot easier if you can speak the prompt out loud rather than just typing it. So Whisper Flow is essentially like a voice-to-text software. It's a voice-to-text software that essentially allows me to just say the prompt out loud. Just makes things simpler. Use Whisper Flow every time you want to build some kind of AI agent or when you work with AI a lot. So now we are inside VS Code and we got Claude Code open up on the right hand panel. So what I'm going to do is ask Claude to go into plan mode. And essentially what plan mode is with Claude Code, you want to make sure everything has been planned out before you actually start writing any code. So Claude is going to help you map out the entire agent, map out the entire automation workflow so that we can either approve or reject it. In plan mode, Claude is going to be able to point out maybe like a few gaps as well and ask us a few questions to make sure that it's building the agent correctly. That's essentially what plan mode is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my whisper flow to give it a prompt. All right, so what I want you to do is go inside plan mode, and here's what we're building. We are building an AI outbound agent who is essentially can do everything when it comes to cold outreach. And the agent is being powered entirely by a tool called Smartlead. And within the agent, there are 5 components: infrastructure, data sourcing, copywriting, campaign building, and reply management. So let me break it down on the 5 different components. Component number 1, infrastructure. The agent needs to be able to set up domains, inboxes, warmup, and monitor its own deliverability health. If a domain or an inbox is showing some sign of not performing well, it automatically know how to spin up a new one automatically. For data sourcing, Smartlead also has an API that can give you the data. So I need to be able to describe my ICP, and the agent will be able to go out there and find the leads for me. Component number 3 is copywriting. The agent needs to be able to write the copy by itself. Component number 4 is campaign build. So once we have the lead list and once we have the copy, the agent needs to be able to build a campaign for me. Last but not least, the last component is the reply management. So the agent needs to be able to read all the replies that are coming in and essentially handle off that for me. Let's make sure that it replies only to positive reply. Anything that is not interested or out of office, the agent needs to be able to know exactly what to skip so that it doesn't handle every single replies that comes in. So in a nutshell, that is what we're trying to build. This is going to be a V1 of the software, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So let me know what you need from my end. Let me know if you have any questions or any clarification, and I will help you determine what to do. Boom, there we go. Whisper flow. I love it. Now you see that I prompted that entire thing and I don't have to type anything, right? It just makes prompting a lot easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter so that the agent can start planning. Okay, cool. So you can kind of see right here what Claude is thinking. First is enter plan mode, and now it's asking me a few questions on what to do next. So the first thing it's asking me is what tech stack should it use? Now, for disclaimer, I kind of know, but let's assume you don't know anything about tech stack. You can just tell it you don't know. So I'm gonna hit on other, and then I'm gonna give it a prompt. You decide. I don't think we need a UI for this, so you can tell me whatever is a good fit. There you go. All right, how should domains and inboxes actually get provisioned? Smartly connects existing inboxes, doesn't buy domains or create Google, blah, blah. Okay, let's see either fully automated, semi-automated, Smartlead only. Okay, let me see, because I believe Smartlead has an option to buy inboxes. So let me check it out. I believe Smartlead has an option that you can buy inboxes directly on the platform. So can you check out if they have an API for that? Now, if it does not, then we can go with some sort of hybrid where we can go with another vendors like a reseller so that we can purchase inboxes outside of that to plug into the platform. But let's see if we can actually do it entirely on Smartlead first. All right, let's check it out. All right, next question. Where should the leads come from? Smartlead has a lead finders, but most people pair with a dedicated. Okay, so a lot of time when you find data, you usually go to like another database and you just scrape the data and plug that into Smartlead. I would recommend you to do that. So check out some other tools. If you're going after local businesses, there's a specialized database for that. If you're going after e-com, we can go to another database for that. But for this case, we're just going to use Smartlead lead finders for the sake of simplicity. All right, how should the agent handle positive reply? Classify, draft, you approve, classify, auto send, positive reply, to drop it to book a meeting. Okay, I'm just gonna have the agent send the replies automatically. There you go, cool. All right, it might ask me more questions, but let's see what it can come up with. All right, so tiny problem. So Claude just come back and it did a bunch of research and it's telling me what we are able to accomplish and what we are not able to accomplish. And it also suggested a couple workarounds as well. So campaign creation, that's good to go. Reply management, that's something they can do. Warm up, statistic, good as well. Now, the two things that they cannot do is number one, inbox and domain provisioning. So right now, the API does exist, meaning that we can call some sort of API and just buy domains automatically. But the access is gated, which is fine. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to purchase domains somewhere else and upload that into Smartlead because we don't really need to always buy new inboxes anyway. But down the road, if we want to implement these features, then we can definitely do that as well. So second tiny issue. So lead finders, smart prospect. So the product does exist, meaning that you can actually get data directly from Smartlead, but upon the research, it cannot find the public. It cannot find the API or the endpoint that it's supposed to be calling. So what I'm going to do is going to reach out to support to see if we can call any kind of API to do this. And if not, totally fine. We're going to use a different tool to source our data instead of Smartlead. So let me go ahead and just give it a few options. I'll go ahead and contact support, but if not, we can use a different tools. So let's hang on to this and we can come back to it later. Okay, enter Smart Sender, purchase inbox API access gated by Smart Support, plan accordingly, build Smart Sender. Okay, yeah, we'll just go ahead and skip Smart Senders entirely in V1, just monitor and flag. I think that should be good enough. I'll contact support for this as well to see if there's an API that we can call and just automatically build in an additional features down the road that if we want to buy new domains, the agent can do that automatically for us. But for now, we can just skip that. All right, so I was doing some digging and actually checked with the Smartlead support team, and we can actually use these two endpoints right here. So search contact and find email so that our agent can go inside and grab a list of our ICPs for us. And additionally, we could also use this endpoint smart senders / place order in order to purchase domains and inboxes as well. What I'm going to do now is tell the agent to implement these endpoints into our system, right? So let's do that. All right, so I actually just checked with the Smartlead support team, and we could actually use the endpoints below to solve our missing issues above. So can you please take a look at these below endpoints, and let's go ahead and use this to implement the feature where our agent can go ahead and grab leads for our ICP and additionally purchase additional inboxes and domains for us as well. All right, let's hit enter and see what the agent can come up with. All right, check this out. So it finishes plan mode and it put out the entire plan for us, how it's gonna implement it, on the tech stack that Claude's gonna use, the product knowledge, the design, everything about Smartlead is gonna have that in the plan. Now it's basically asking me whether or not I want to approve the plan, but one thing that I totally forgot, and let me just go ahead and switch to the whiteboard to show you what I mean, is so the way that I'm thinking about designing this is we want to have the agent as its own system and then the brief as its own product description. So if you know what I mean, this is the agent that we are going to build, right? And then somewhere over here, we're going to have the brief, right? Brief. And inside the brief, we're going to have the product description, right? So for this case, let's pretend we're running outbound for Smartlead. So Smartlead building its own agent running outbound to get themselves more customer, right? So the brief itself is going to know everything about Smartlead, the value propositions, the targeting, all that kind of stuff. And the agent itself, all it's doing is just running everything behind the scene, right? So later on, if you want to use the agent to run outbound for different products, then you can just simply update the brief so that the agent can learn from it and just do its own thing. So we want to go back to Claude Code and just tell it that and make sure that it understands the overall design. So, all right, so I give that the instruction. I'm going to hit enter and it's going to go back to planning and let's see what it can come up with. Cool. All right. It just updated the plan. So what I'm gonna do now is click yes and auto accept. And now Claude is gonna go ahead and build this entire agent for me. So I'm gonna go on a date and I'll see you guys soon. All right, we're back. All right, I'm just kidding. I didn't go on a date, but you can see right here that Claude automatically create a to-do list, like what exactly it has to implement. So let's check it out. Create project skeleton, create Smartlead brief content, pretty good. Craft content, core foundation, REST client, prompts, writer, the reply module, the campaign builder, the infra module, the data sources and everything. So yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So Claude essentially plan all the to-do list for me. It knows exactly what to do. And it's going to use Smartlead as the engine behind the scene to build the entire agent for us. So yeah, I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when it finishes the entire thing. And let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so Claude is done. I think that took about 20 to 30 minutes. But let me just show you everything is done so far, and this is like super cool. I know I've been using Claude Code for like a few months now, but I'm still amazed by everything is going on. So let me show you real quick. So as you can see right here, earlier we have a checklist on what needs to be done, all of course written by Claude, and it's just going through one thing at a time. It's installing things one thing at a time. I think at some point it even caught its own mistake as well. Like it found some error from the code that it wrote and it's essentially corrected itself. Yeah, like somewhere around here you can see that Claude was like, oh, my math was wrong for something, and it fixed itself. But anyway, super cool. Right, now I think the whole thing is done. All right, yeah, I think everything is pretty much done, but of course we still have to test, we still have to deploy it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just ask Claude directly on what to do, and then we can just get out of the way. All right, so the whole system is done, I believe. Now, walk me through deployment, because I don't want to use just my local environment to do this. So how would I be able to deploy this so that it could become almost autonomous? So how can I deploy it so that, of course, every time there's a reply coming in, you can automatically handle it for me? How can I deploy it so that maybe weekly or monthly you can share a report with me through Slack? And even better, if I can communicate with you through my Slack as well, that would be absolutely amazing. So how would I be able to do that? Can you put together a checklist for me and break it down to different stages as well, so that we can actually knock out one things at a time? So let me know what needs to be done from my end. All right, that's the whole prompt. Gonna hit enter. A lot of time with Claude Code, the thing is, you don't really need to know exactly how to do it. You don't really need to know like what's the next step. You can just simply ask Claude, right? Like, hey, what should I do now? And Claude will need some water, sorry. And Claude is gonna tell you exactly what to do next. So in this case, I'm asking Claude how to deploy the entire thing, how to run some tests. And yeah, once they're able to tell me on what to do, I'll go ahead and set everything up, and let's see how the whole agent is behaving. All right, cool. So yeah, it tells me the whole thing right here. So it asked me to get some setup with Smartlead, Anthro API key, GitHub, all that kind of stuff. Deploy the service, Smartlead, webhook, all that kind of stuff. And I think at the bottom, it asked me two questions right here. So the first question is, where do I want to host it? And the second is, what is my ambition on being able to communicate with the whole agent in Slack? I think I need to skip that for today. The reason being is I've tried this before. It took a lot of time for me to set all that up. So I'm going to ask it to give me like an alternative. But before that, let me just go back to the whiteboard and walk you through how deployment actually work, right? And I'm going to get a little bit technical in terms of software engineer language in a second. But everything that you have right now is on the local machine, right? And our job right now is essentially uploading everything into what we call the cloud, right? So this is essentially development 101, but the difference between local and cloud is essentially everything sit on local, no one can access it, right? And everything sit on the cloud, you and other people can actually access to that as well, right? So think of it like this: your iPhone, you got all the photos on your own physical device. that's a local machine. That's a physical device, right? Now, when you upload everything to iCloud, right? Now you save some space in your local, but everyone else can have access to it, right? And don't think when I mention everyone, it has to be a person. It could be another machine. It could be another tool. It could be all that kind of stuff, right? So yes, iCloud, Google Drive, essentially the cloud environment. So everything that we've built so far is on the local environment. Now, with this, obviously, a lot of tools cannot have access to it. A lot of people cannot have access to it. We cannot set up any kind of autonomous system. So what we want to do is deploy that into the cloud. So essentially, this is what Claude is saying. To be honest, I'm not quite 100% certain where do I want to host it. So I'm just going to tell Claude to decide that for me. So for the host, why don't you pick one for me and think of different pros and cons between the host. Obviously, cost is a big thing, so take that into consideration as well. And for number 2, I think we can skip Slack for today because this is just version number 1. However, can you tell me perhaps an alternative in the sense that if I do want to communicate with the system, how would I be able to do it? There you go. All right, give it a second and let's see what Claude will tell me. All right, we're back. So let's continue. All right, now it is done. So let's see what Claude is telling me. So the first thing is it's going to tell me to use fly.io. Let's go for it. I don't have any objection for that. Second, it's going to tell me some alternative to be able to just have a two-way chat on Slack. So it's asking me to use some sort of command line to do this. So let's go for it. Just to give you some context, if you're on Mac, this is basically the terminal. This is essentially the command line, right? So you just chat with the bot through on your terminal. You might have to do a bit of configuration, but I think that should be it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and approve the plan and let's get the setup going. Cool. All right. So for the deployment, let's use fly.io. And for the communication, let's use the command line. So can you wrap everything up? Make sure what we have to do. Make sure this is documented somewhere in the program as well so that we know where we left off. And let's start one stage at a time. So once you're done, tell me everything I have to be doing for stage 1 and then move on to stage 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be. So document everything out for the first version of the agent and then we can deploy it and we can do some tests for it. Cool. All right, let's check it out. So I think it did something, it built a couple more files for the deployment process. Now it's telling me to do a few things like installing this thing right here and then go to fly.io, sign up for an account. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna click on this link, fly.io/app, sign up. Here we go. I'm gonna create an account. I don't wanna bore you with the whole thing. I'm gonna enter my credit card and stuff in there as well. So, all right, so I just created a fly.io account. So I'm gonna go back to Claude Code and this is gonna have to run a few commands. You know what, as a matter of fact, all right, so I just created an account on Fly. Now, can you actually run the rest of the parts for me? So can you run step number 1, 3, 4, and 5, maybe one at a time, just to check it? And then, yeah, let's see if it works or not. There you go. Let's see if it's gonna be able to run these commands for me. All right, done. So I didn't really have to do anything. I just created the fly.io account and I just tell code to just run everything else for me. Now it's basically asking me for my API key and my Anthropic API key. So I want to show you how to get your Smartlead API key. All you have to do is log into your Smartlead account. So make sure you have an account and everything first. I'm gonna go here on the right hand side, click on settings, and on the left hand side, API key management. Here you go. I already have an API key. I'm probably gonna create a new one just for this video. Same thing for Anthropic. So you're gonna go to platform.com instead. Log into your Claude account. So let me show you where it is. Okay, so once you log into the Claude or Anthro console, you're gonna click on API key on the left hand side under organization settings. And yeah, within the API keys page, just click on create key, give it a name, whatever you want it to be, and then it's gonna create a key for you. You are going to copy that, paste it back into your Claude code, and it's gonna do the rest for you. So I'm gonna do that really quick because I don't want to show you guys my API key. It's a secret key, so unfortunately you will not be able to see that. All right, so Claude is running, but I want to explain the concept of API key in case you're not familiar of what it is. So how do we actually think about building the AI agent, and where does API key has to come into the picture, right? So let me just give you like a TLDR on what that looks like. So the whole idea of building an AI agent really requires like an API key that can call multiple endpoints for the product, right? So let me give you an example. Because right now we are using Smartlead as the engine to power our AI agent. If you go into the API documentation of Smartlead, what you can do is if you call this endpoint right here, right, /campaign, you're gonna get auto campaign. You can get auto campaign ID. You can create a campaign by calling this API ID, right? So these are actions that is attached to the endpoint, right? So for Smartlead, for example, if you want to, let's do this. If you want to create campaign, right, you will call this API endpoint number 1, whatever it might be. Let me just do this real quick, right? Later on, if you want to create email, you will call the API endpoint number 2. Let me do this. All right. Later on, if you want to, grab campaign data, you will call API endpoint number 3, right? So essentially, that is the whole idea of the entire AI agent infrastructure would look like, right? So you're using a tool behind the scene to power it. Every time you want to do an action, like to create a campaign, it will call this API endpoint. Every time you want to do another action, like grab the campaign data, it will run another API endpoint, right? And for the agent to access your account, to be able to run all this API endpoint and do all this action, it needs an API key, right? So API key. So that is basically the bridge between the tool itself versus all of these actions right here, right? So essentially that is how quote unquote AI agents is being able to build left and right? It's essentially a tool behind the scene that can run multiple endpoints and actions to do all that stuff for you. So quick lesson right there for you. Let's go back to Claude Code to see what it is. All right, it's still running some stuff, so I'll let it run through and let's continue where it finishes. All right, good news. The agent is done, it's being deployed. So now it's telling me to do some webhook configurations. It's telling me to reset the API key, which I'm going to tell it to not do that, just so that we can run some tests first before we rotate the API keys. And yeah, just telling me that the agent is live. So yeah, cool. Let me just ask the agents on like what to do next, and we can run a few tests for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run Whisperflow again. Okay, so that's great that the agent is now being deployed. So I would love to run a test really quick. So I would love to run a test to have the agent create a test campaign for me, maybe using a few of the email addresses that we have on file, and maybe we can send out a test email to a test lead as well, right? So let's do that, but tell me exactly what is needed for the next step. All right, delete that. Cool. All right, so I told you the good news, but I didn't tell you the bad news. The bad news is I've used about 91% of my current session limit, and it's going to reset in an hour. So what I'm going to do is maybe just run a few more tests, and then I'll wait for an hour for the limit to reset again, and I'll resume it. So let's see what Claude has to say. Okay, so now Claude is telling me to upload like a test CSV file with a lead in there. And then it's telling me to create a webhook by go to settings, webhook, add webhook. Okay. And then last but not least, just tell Claude, okay, that's pretty simple. So let's create a webhook first. So to create a webhook, all you have to do is go into Smartlead, go to setting on the left-hand side, click on webhook. So I'm going to name this outbound agent, the webhook URL. Let's see, I think it gives me something. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this whole thing right here, paste that in. Account level, event type, I believe it tells me to put email reply. Click add, continue anyway. Okay, so essentially, let me just kind of explain what we did really quick. So we just created a webhook. So if you don't know what webhook is, think of it as like the event trigger, right? So some event happened and the webhook will get triggered. And in this case, it's an email reply, right? So when somebody replies to our email, it's gonna notify the webhook. The webhook is gonna notify the agent like, hey, somebody just replied, and it's gonna send the event to the agent, right? I have multiple webhooks already, but for the sake of demo, I just created a new webhook. So let's see what the agent wants now. Okay, and I also just created like a small CSV file. This is like a test lead. This is just my own email, so my name and my email. I'm gonna feed that to the agent really quick and see what it tells me. Let me give it some command. Okay, so now the webhook is created. I'm going to upload a CSV file that includes a lead email as well. So what I want you to do is create a test campaign, right? And use this data as the lead. You can pick any of the active email that we have on file to upload that into the campaign. Just use one single secondary email to run the test. When you set up the campaign, make sure that you set up the time correctly so that it can send the email to the test email, because right now my local time is around 6 p.m. So I just want to make sure that we receive the test email when we're setting up the campaign. There you go. So I told Claude that we just finished the webhook. I'm going to upload the CSV file with the test lead in there. Click run and let's see what it can do. Cool. So I just simply upload the CSV file into Claude Code and I tell it to create a campaign going after that person. Again, I'm just using my own personal email just to test what that looks like. So basically in Smartlead, it created a new campaign for me, right? And we can talk about the name later, could be something else different. It added myself as the lead in the campaign. It basically wrote the copy for me, not just one, but 3 different variations, right? Now we can talk a lot more about copywriting in another sessions, right? We can train the AI to be better at copywriting. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I also have a lot of, videos talking about copywriting, so you can check that out. But essentially it will be able to build this campaign, right? And I'm checking my inbox and I'm seeing the email, right? Once again, not the best email. We need to fix a lot of different stuff, but at least the agent works, right? So let me try something. Let me see if I could do something like, hey, I am interested. Can you send over more information? All right. And let's see if the agent will be able to reply to my email. All right, so now the agent actually replied to my reply. So you can see right here that this is the original email, the first email that we sent. I say something like, I'm interested, can you send me more information? And then the agent actually replied to that. So, and one thing you notice is the agent did not reply 20 minutes later. And the reason for that is we ran out of credit. So I added more credit into fly.io. And yeah, now the agent is pretty much autonomous in the sense that we're going to send out the email, we set up the campaign, it write a copy for us. When a lead responded, when a lead replies, the agent will automatically reply for us as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, obviously there are a lot of caveat in here, like the copy is not great, the reply is not amazing, but this is the first step, right? But yeah, you can, of course, train the agent a bit better when it comes to copywriting, when it comes to replying, and maybe skip a certain reply. Like if there's an out of office reply, skip that. You don't have to reply to everything. All that, of course, you can just tell Claude and Claude will essentially build that for you. All right, so we are actually almost at the end. Now, remember what we did just now is uploading a CSV file that includes a test data, right? And of course, as you can see, the agent responded accordingly. Now, wouldn't it be cool if we just describe our ICP and it will automatically build that data set for us? Well, remember, in Smartlead, there is a feature called Smart Prospect. And what it is essentially a database with all the prospects that we can reach out to, right? So let's give it a shot. Why don't we just describe our ICP, right? And tell the agent to build a small data set and just set up the campaign for it. Let's All right, so let's just give it a shot. Let's just tell the agent to look inside our product and build a lead list around that and set up a campaign automatically for us. Now, what I want you to do is look into my product and tell me who would be the best fit in terms of my ICP that I can reach out to that are more likely to buy my product. Now, just to do a quick test, what I want you to do is define my ICP, go down to row title, company size, industry, etc. And really what I want you to do is just get a sample list of 10 people and then include their email, include their first name, last name, and company. And what I want you to do is create a campaign that include the copywriting and everything and upload that to Smartlead for me. And what I want you to do is upload that to the Smartlead campaign and don't press launch just yet. I will execute that myself, but I just want to set everything up so that I can verify it and then I will launch it. Okay, now I've got a prompt. Let's run it and see what it's gonna do. Hit enter, run this prompt and see what it can do. I'm gonna show you the output of the prompt and then that's it. All right, so it is done. So as you can see that all I really did is telling the agent to look into my company and, just launch a cold email campaign, right? To people who do you think more likely, to the people who do you think is most likely is going to buy my product. And it did everything. I didn't have to touch anything. And in Smartlead, it basically set up a campaign for me. It wrote the copy, the follow-ups and everything. It pulled up a data set of 11 people. I told it to build like a sample data set of 10. And yeah, now all I have to do is to click launch, right? Or I don't even have to click anything. I just tell the agent to launch the campaign for me. The reason why the campaign is not launched to begin with is because I told the agent to not launch the campaign without my green light. So there you go. AI Outbound Agent powered entirely by one single tool, which is Smartlead, right? And remember, when we launch the campaign, every time we have a reply coming in, the agent is also going to reply to the leads for us as well. Right. Cool. All right. Now I want to show you one more thing. So with cold email, you always want to monitor your inboxes. So if an inbox is not performing well, then what you want to do is either create new ones or you want to have some backup inboxes and swap them out every single month, every single 2 or 3 weeks, so that we can always have a pipeline going. Right. And to do that, what we want to do is let the agent once a month, once every 2 weeks, whatever it might be, just do a quick analysis on all the inboxes that we have and just simply swap them out, right? So there's 2 ways that we can do about it. So either way, we want to forward that report to Slack just to tell us like which inboxes, which domains are performing well, right? So you can do 2 things. You can literally go back to Claude and tell us to do something like, hey, can you create some sort of automation so that once a month this would trigger? And what I want you to do is find out what is the least performing domains that I have in my campaigns. Let's say 10. So 10 least performing domains in my campaign. And what I want you to do is switch them out with the one that are sitting in warmup. That way we constantly have some sort of rotation and that our cold email is always going to land in the inbox and we don't have to worry about any deliverability issues. All right, so that's the prompt. You can tell Claude to do that. Claude is going to build off that for you. It's going to have the agent handle everything. Or another way, which I found out is a lot easier, is within Smartlead. You can click on this tab called Smart Agent. And in here, you can also just literally use the same prompt, right? You just insert the prompt and then within Smartlead, it's going to build you like a reporting agent. So the agent, what it's going to do is every single month, it's going to send a report to Slack. It already have all this integration available for you. So it will just do that directly in Smartlead. And every single month, it's going to go inside your campaign. It's going to find the 10 least performing domains or whatever number you want it to be. And it's going to switch that out with the one that is sitting in warmup. So that way your infrastructure is constantly rotating. I already have the workflow, the agent, the reporting agent built out, so I'm not going to do it again. But just to show you the example on what that looks like, this is my Slack. And yeah, essentially once a month, it's going to give me this report. This is all the domains that is performing not well. So I know exactly which one is doing well, which one is not, and it's gonna automatically rotate that to the one that is sitting in my warm-up for me. All right, now that we've finished the agent, everything is working as expected. Of course, we still have to train the agents on a few things, as I mentioned throughout the videos, like the way that the agent should handle the reply, the copywriting, all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, the system itself is done. So what we're gonna do now is push everything into GitHub. And if you're not familiar with GitHub, think of it as like a storage space to store all your code, right? It's a repository platform that you can do all of that, right? So it's just a place for you to like store all the code. And I don't have a GitHub account, so I just clear on my session in Claude. All you have to do is just type /clear, just so that we can have like a cleaner UI. So what I'm gonna do now is tell Claude to push everything we have into GitHub. So let's do that. All right, so I believe the agent is done, at least for the first version. So can you do me a favor and document everything together in a documentation, just so that we can make sure that where we left off, and let's push everything into GitHub at this moment. I believe I already have a GitHub setup, but if you need anything else from me, just let me know. Now, the huge thing is throughout the session, I do give you a few API keys. So for security reason, because this will be shared to the public, can you make sure that all of that is not going to be on GitHub, just so that I can protect my API key? Let me know if you have any issue, and yeah, go ahead and deploy it. All right. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to let Claude do the work. If this is the first time you're setting up GitHub, you might have to do some configuration. So I'm not going to bore you with all that kind of stuff, because Claude might ask me to do a few things here and there. Might ask you like the name for the repository and things like that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to let Claude do something, and then I'm going to draw out like a little diagram, and then I walk you through the entire thing of what we've been able to accomplish in this video. Okay, so we're almost to the end now, and I want to recap everything by showing you the workflow that we were able to accomplish in this video. So essentially, we built the entire outbound AI agent end-to-end that is powered by Smartlead. Smartlead essentially build the infrastructure for us, self-heal if any domain is not working correctly, if any inboxes are not getting enough replies coming in, to make sure that you always land in the inbox. It essentially build the data set for us, create a campaign for us, and handle all the replies all on Autopilot for you as well. Now, we do have a product brief. Essentially, this is a storage that you have all the informations about your product or service to feed to the agent. Anything from your offering, your ICP, any discount, any risk reversal or guarantee, you put that into the product brief so the agent can learn more about your product or service. We host the entire thing on fly.io, and we store the code base in GitHub. Now, obviously, the agent itself is not completely perfect. There's some copywriting stuff we have to train it on. There's some lead list building strategy that we have to train it on, but that's the base of it. But this is the skeleton, and we can always build on top of it. I'm going to share everything. I'm going to share the GitHub repository in the comment below. So check it out, clone it, and build on top of it. Play around with it. So that's the agent, and the GitHub repo is linked in the description. You can clone it, adapt it, you can build on top of it. And if you're already on Smartlead, this is your starting point. But if you're not using Smartlead, this is what the platform can do. If you want to learn more about Code Email, I do have a free course at thecodeacademy.com where I literally share everything I know about outbound, completely free. So that's it for today. And as always, eyes on the stars.